Maybe against my better judgment, but then again, I've done this a long, long time. Then again, it is my name on the marquee. Then again, it is my show. Then again, what are they going to do? Take me out of the Hall of Fame? Watch this. Apparently, you're all ready for it anyway. At Hitman Canadian tweets, Rattiest cities? Let me know. I've got some buddies coming over for dinner. Thanks, Ira. Mailman Casey tweets, Huntington Beach may not be the rattiest city in the U.S., but the biggest rat I know lives there. Unwar Narc Bra.
Brah.
Narc.
Brah.
Narc.
Brah.
Narc.
Brah.
Rat.
Brah.
Narc. Rat.
Brah. Brah.
Snitch. Narc.
Brah.
Rat.
Brah.
Eric.
Brah.
Eric Narc.
Brah.
All right, so, I hate to even go here. It seems pretty early in the day to do so, however, and I can't believe that I'm going to say this, but it has been a very, very big year in this here jungle for rats. That, of course, is the band Rat with 2 T's. That's one of the ultimate buzzwords on this program. Rat with 1 T. The band has 2 T's. I don't really know the genesis or the origin of that band and why they felt like they needed 2 T's. I mean, why not have 3? That doesn't look right. The artwork's not right. Just hang another T on there. I mean, nobody named their band Dog with 2 G's. At least they didn't flip that R around like corn. Anyway, it is one of the ultimate buzzwords on this show, rat. And many of you know why that is, but many of you do not. And if you want to talk about origin, it goes all the way back to the 1990s when we didn't have tweets. We didn't even have email. Back then, it was just a fax machine, literally a fax machine. And back in the day, when we had a really hot topic, like Bobby Knight, Pete Rose, and this thing that I'm about to get to, a really good day, we could get several hundred faxes. Like the record was like 374 faxes in one day, and they'd come through one at a time. But there was never a fax like the one Gaucho Bill sent me. I'm not sure of the exact year. Early 90s? Gaucho Bill sends me a fax that reads in part, quote, all I've seen in the local fish wrap lately are pictures of Monica Selish's rodent face, contorting in a most heinous fashion as she prepares to pound the ball back at her horrified human opponent. Her mouth is agape, exposing her beaver-like chompers, while her beady black eyes are riveted on the ball. It's as though the rat girl thinks it's not a tennis ball she's striking, but a cheese ball. And the winner gets all she can eat. Yeah, I mean, that may be somewhat amusing to you right now, but I'm here to tell you that when that fax came through, I was crying. Like, I couldn't even read it on the air. I could not get it out. And I may be mistaken, but I think that's actually how the Rat family started, with that actual fax. And the staying power of that fax cannot be understated, because it paved the way to the very unfortunate, very regrettable, but extremely unforgettable Rat family, which I've been trying to scrub from the internet ever since. But as we all know, the internet is in ink. You can't scrub it. You can't. I mean, I'd like to live in a world where that never happened. You all want to live in a world, however, where it's still a thing. Every single day. Like, I used to literally have conversations like this with professional athletes back in the day about that particular family. Listen to this. This is a conversation I had with Mark Grace about the family in 1996.
Are you dialed into the Rat family?
No, I'm not.
We have a new Rat family in the jungle. Here are the goals for this year for Mark Grace. 100 runs batted in, 20 home runs, 330, Gold Glove, All-Star appearance, and one glossary entry in the rat family.
And one glossary. I'll tell you what, Romy. My next jungle adventure, I'm going to have someone for an addition to the rat family for you. Romy, go hit on some fat chicks and bug all right?
This was the kind of conversation that we would have on this show. That was 1996. Me and all-star Mark Grace, and me explaining to him what the rat family was and his responsibility to add to it. So whenever any kind of story comes up that even references a rat, you clones are all over it. Like Sellish on a cheese ball, as Gaucho Bill would say. So 2020 has been a big, big year for the jungle in terms of rats. The aforementioned Canadian hitman pointed this out. There was Silk Bra going rat bra with his tweet to the Huntington Beach Police Department. There was the San Antonio Zoo running a Valentine's Day promo where you could name a cockroach after your ex and then watch them feed it to a rat on a live stream. There was the rat hotline for the NBA bubble. There was the discovery that the St. Louis Cardinals had a utility man, Brad Miller, and his nickname is Rat. There was that giant lying rat, Charles E. Cheese, slinging cardboard pizza under the alias Pasquale's just to survive the pandemic. You know, that gigantic rat. All of these stories have been covered, all right here, because you all love rats. And you all love the jungle rat family. So naturally, when a list came out this week of America's rattiest towns, you were all up in my mentions, demanding a take. First, there is nothing lazier than list radio. It's even lazier than rat radio. Secondly, why would I run down a list of the rattiest cities in America? Who cares? Who wants to know that? Well, apparently Channel 13 in Sacramento does. Channel 13 in Sacramento is all over it. Not only that, but they seem kind of proud of the fact that they're working their way up the rat list.
Sacramento just moved up the list of rattiest cities in the United States. This study is from Orkin, based on the rankings of number of rodent treatments it conducted over the past year. Sacramento landed at 36th on this list, moving up 5 spots from the year before. A pair of California cities actually made the top 5 in order. Those are Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco.
Slow news day? Come on, man. Who made the decision in the newsroom to flaunt moving up 5 spots on the list from 41 to 36? I mean, we're not exactly... Can I get my music, please? Thank you, Alvin. Don't be a rat. We're not exactly talking about NFL power rankings here. We're talking about the rattiest cities in America. And I'm a big Sacramento fan, but Cowtown seems pretty stoked to be moving up in the world as Rat Town. Now, personally, I am a little put off as a native Californian that there are so many California cities that are so freaking ratty. Like, I no longer live in LA, but I was born in LA. LA is number 2, ahead of New York. How the hell is that possible? I've been to New York. The rats operate the subways in that city. But apparently the Golden State is turning into the rodent state. We're on that list 4 times. And no, this is not an invitation to remind me that Corey Pavin was born in California. I know. Nor do I know what his favorite cheese is. I don't care. Nor do you need to point out that Gary Gaetti played for the Angels at one point. I'm well aware of that. This is a current list of actual rats, not an old list of people who allegedly look like rats. I can't be more clear about that. This is an actual current list of real rats, not a totally outdated list of people who you think look like rats. So don't go trying to wedge in any references that bring me down to the hell in which you love to live in. Remember, this list is based on how many rat treatments that the company Orkin does every single year. You know what? It's actually an indictment on that company, Orkin. Come on, man. Up your poison game. Orkin, knock these rats out my state. So I don't have to listen to local news reports about moving up the rat list. And how bad is it where you live if that's something you want to show off about? Damn, we're climbing that thing. Look how much higher we are on the list of rats this year than last year. You know how many more rats? You know how many more rats we have now than we did a year ago at this time? Man, we got to break the top 20. We got to break the top 20. Leave your garbage out. Garbage. Hang pictures of paving outside. If there's a rat list, you clones will find it. And then I'm going to have to spend part of my show trying to exterminate it. Do your job, Orkin. Do your job, Orkin, so I can do mine. Deal? Good. Deal. You clones happy. Family's not coming back. I've done, you can't even believe the amount of time I've spent trying to scrub that family from the internet. Because, by the way, a number of those rats are some of my best friends now. And some of those rats are just rats. Time and place, you know, we all kind of mature and evolve and grow, myself included. But I will say this, Gaucho Bill was so far ahead of his time. Not only is he responsible for one of the all-time radio bits ever, just that line in and of itself, beaver like chompers. Hemingway wishes he came up with that. Shakespeare would give anything to be the guy to coin that. Jamie in Green Bay tweets, we need a Hall of Fame list of phrases that were said on the program. Get beaver like chompers the first golden jacket. I cannot even begin to stress to you how amazing that fax was. I couldn't read it. I was crying. I've never laughed so hard at anything on this show in my life. It was incredible. It was the finest bit of prose I'd ever read in my life. And I always did really well in English. I was one of those guys that the math and sciences jack with my head. I just couldn't deal. Chemistry, biology, algebra, geometry. Man, no matter how hard I worked that stuff, I couldn't figure it out. Just was not that guy. That side of my brain did not work. I was dominant, however, in English. Crushed everything on every level of my education with English. But what I would have given to compose that email, or check that fax. Gaucho Bill, it was brilliant. Beaver like chompers was an amazing line. When we come back, just having a little fun on a Friday. Jaime, the phrase beaver like chompers brings back so many glorious memories. Stephen S.A. See about the show. A number of you have been around here for a long time, and you remember what the show was like. You remember what I was like. You remember what the show was like. You remember some of the content. You remember some of the crap that we used to get away with. Crap like that. So I know that for a lot of you old schoolers, OGs, it does bring back amazing memories, right? I mean, that soundbite of me and Mark Grace in 1996, having an actual conversation, and I gave him a homework assignment. You have to come up with somebody to put in the family. He said, I got that, Romy. I got that. George Campbell says, I remember the day you read Beaver Like Chompers on the air. Was driving up the 101 and almost ended up in the Pacific Ocean. Best facts ever. I love that people have likened that to one of those I remember where I was when that happened moments. You know, like some of the greatest moments in the history of the country. I remember where I was when. I remember where I was when you read the Beaver Like Chompers facts. And I have to keep checking myself. I want to say email, but it was not an email. There was no email back then. It was a fax. Brent in PC. Gaucho Bill is the T.S. Eliot of the jungle. I mean, yes. Fitzgerald, Hemingway, T.S. Eliot, Shakespeare, Raymond Carver, Steinbeck. I mean, whoever you want to compare him to, it's fair, it's accurate. And he was prolific. That was not like some one-off. I mean, that guy would send in long-form faxes every single day, but that was his finest moment. Again, I want to read this to you. This came in the form of a fax. This is what started the entire rat family phenomenon. Quote, all I've seen in the local fish wrap lately are pictures of Selish's rodent face contorting in a most heinous fashion as she prepares to pound the ball back at her horrified human opponent. Her mouth is agape, exposing her beaver-like chompers, while her beady black eyes are riveted on the ball. It's as though the rat girl thinks it's not a tennis ball she's striking, but a cheese ball, and the winner gets all she can eat. Every part of that fax is accurate. It's so true. I hate to say it, she did have a rodent face. She looked like a rat. And mostly when she went, and remember, she hit off two hands both sides. Two-handed backhand, two-handed forehand, and she hit the hell out of the ball. And like Andre Agassi, she'd take it on the rise. And she would pound her groundies. Pound them. And when she did, that rodent face did become contorted. He was so right. And in a heinous fashion. And I remember the opposition when she was number one in the world. Before that extremely unfortunate incident where that crazed Steffi Graf fan plunged a knife into her back. Selish's. Before that, when she was number one, and she was just pounding groundies deep, like baseline, side to side. I remember looking at the other side of the net and seeing her, quote, horrified human opponent. He's right. And her mouth was agape. And it did expose beaver-like chompers. And she did have beady black eyes. And they were riveted on the tennis ball. But it didn't look like she was looking at a tennis ball. It looked like it was a ball of cheese. Like everything he said is accurate. Do you have any idea how terrifying and intimidating that must have been back in the day? Like I can remember Sabatini, great player, Gabriella Sabatini. Even she looked afraid. Even Steffi. I mean, it was terrifying. Beady black eyes, mouth agape. And you know it's strong, right? I mean, it spawned an entire family because what happened after that was people's response generally was along the lines of, you know, she kind of does look like a rat. And the Jim Rome of 2020 would immediately put an end to that. But the Jim Rome of 1995 thought, dude, she does look like a rat. And now that I think about it, there are a lot of other people in sports that look like rats. Human beings that look like rats. You know what we should do? We should put them all in one family together. And that was a good idea for a time. But not anymore. But
are you
ever
dialed
since
into the
I
rat
tried
family?
to make that go away, it's only encouraged you clones. And like I said, the internet is an ink and you cannot scrub it. I've tried. I've had lawyers. I've had internet disciples. I've tried everything I could to make that thing go away. And I can't.
And one glossary entry in the rat family.
And Mark Moda tweets, memory lane, yo. You should get Rit to bring his fax machine in from home next week.
Yo.
1 for 3C1. I am a current employee of Orkin. Signed, Henry Waxman. Wow. Dude, the Waxer was one of the all-time family members. Whenever the family came up, he was like the patriarch. Google that. Hey, Rome, the city with the biggest rat was usually wherever our ace was pitching that day. Signed, the Seattle Mariners circa 1995 and the Arizona Diamondbacks circa 01. He's talking about the big rat, Randy Johnson.
Hey.
Rome, War Gaucho Bill for providing the most important contribution to the show ever. Damasio, if I was lazy and I was of that mindset, I could put that out in a poll. Beaver-like chompers, most important jungle contribution ever, or Toby in Houston. But I'm not going to do that. All right, anyway, you've had your fun. I threw it back. We went old school. Let's get back to the program.